happy to be here. And talking about emotions, I want to share with you something. I'm Roberta, first of all. I'm angry with myself because this is the first time I asked a professional photographer to record me. And so my internal dialogue is, why did you do that? Wow, why did you choose these things? Paying people to make you feel uncomfortable. Anyway, I did it. So I come from Italy, and I'm an executive and team coach. And today I don't bring an academic research, I bring my professional practice and experience about emotions. I'm not a psychologist, so the first time I approached coaching, I felt really safe and I said, wow, coaching, it's about performance. So it's about language, it's about question and feedback. So I don't have to care about emotions. So I discovered during my professional practice that it's not like that. And besides my coach's profession, I also teach and supervise future coaches. So emotions are really a big issue in our professional practice, and also in managers and leaders' lives in organizations. So finally, my clients are starting to think they can feel emotions because usually they think, no, it's not me, I'm perfect and I'm not controlled by emotion. So today, I thank my colleague from the Japan University because she explained what coaching is. I just want to use irony again, because I will tell you what my mom thinks about coaching. She said, in your job, you ask questions. And I said, yes, mom. You don't give suggestion. And I said, yes, mom, I can't. And she said, you give feedback, but you don't find solution. And I said, yes. And you got paid for this. So this is a good job. Okay, in the past century, if we go back, emotions had to be controlled, repressed, and still they are in some organization. Because to show our emotions, to recognize that we feel emotions, had been treated with disdain, because emotions are what make us more similar to animals, so they have to be hidden. Finally, as the psychologists and the researchers are demonstrating, we are including emotions in our professional life. Talking about coaching, so in my coaching model, I'm an ontological coach, and I use language. I believe that language creates reality, so I use language to help my clients to make aha moments and changes in their professional life. But what happens if they, for example, one of my coachees, he decides to change his conversation with his boss because maybe he has a conflict with the boss. And he goes there to his boss and changes the kind of questions or feedback he gives to the boss. And then he doesn't change anything else. So he doesn't change his emotion or his body posture. And he goes there and makes a different conversation. Then he comes back home and maybe has a fight with the wife or whatever. And he still feels angry. The next morning, he will go back and the change won't last. So what I discovered in my professional practice that we are complex and wonderful human beings. So in a coaching conversation, I have to take care of these, at least these 3 domains. So I need to observe the quality of the conversation of my clients, the body posture, and his emotional world. Because if he doesn't change at the same time, in all these 3 domains, what happens, the change won't last, let's say, during the next month or 6 months, and it will go back again. How can I do it in a coaching conversation? Because I cannot have access to emotions directly. They are chemicals. So how can I do it? I do it through questions. So I enter through the door of language to help him or help her to manage, first of all, recognize. Second, do another thing, legitimate. Usually, especially in a business environment, some emotions are not legitimate. For example, anger is not legitimate. Envy is not legitimate. Sadness is not legitimate. So first of all, I help my coachees to legitimate their emotion. I discovered this concept at my funerals that I was so anxious and I wasn't aware of what's going on that I started laughing. And everybody was, blaming on me because they thought that I didn't feel sadness, but I felt. So I started thinking, wow, and I didn't legitimate myself too while it was happening. So first of all, what I do now, I help my coachee to welcome emotions and legitimate whatever they are. We cannot control them, but they come to say things. So after I help my coachee to recognize them, to name that, I help them to do different things with them. That's our power. So they come, and I cannot choose, I want to be happy, or I want to be satisfied that my colleague got a better role. I can't. But I can decide what to do with my emotion. That's what I love about my coaching model, because in my coaching model, emotions are predisposition to action. So that's what I believe. So my responsibility in coaching, the two, let's say, key elements are responsibility and awareness. My responsibility is what I can do with my emotions. Why did they come to me? What are they telling to me? So finally, like my mom says, I use questions. To do what? To translate. Because my coachee cannot have access to emotions, so I help her to translate the message, to welcome the message, and to give an output in terms of action, because coaching is go for an action plan. So sometimes this could become, that's in a coaching conversation, this could become a vicious circle or a virtuous circle, because what happens? My manager gave me a negative feedback. I got an opinion going through my head, and an emotion come out, and I took an action. So this tool, I use it in a coaching conversation to help them to become more aware and to give a different output in terms of action, because our job is to help people to achieve different actions in order to get extraordinary goals. Okay, I don't know how long.
About 4 minutes, I think.
Yeah, okay. I would like to go through question and answer, because I've heard that there are here some people really good in making questions. So.
What sort of individuals are you working with? Is it
Executives. Yes, I work with executives and leaders and yeah, and also teams. Yeah.
And do you find there's some saying that individuals who tend to lead organisations will show certain different traits and therefore may be less able to verbalise certain emotions?
Yes. When you, in my experience, command and control organization, let's say, this kind of leadership can generate more difficulties in the expression and in managing emotion. In transformational leadership, I find leaders more aware and more easy for them to declare them vulnerable. So if I declare myself vulnerable, I can, express with less problems my emotions, yes. But in Italy, I don't know the situation here. There are many command and control organizations still. So, for example, it can be really common to hear from a leader, no, I can control my emotions. I say, yes, wow, how can you? You're a genius. Yes, completely, yes. The kind of leadership has an influence, in my opinion, and practice on the output.
Do you find that there's a gender difference between the leaders? So if you've got, do you have organisations that are mainly female-led, or are they all male-led in Italy?
This is a good question, and it depends. I think that the kind of leadership has more influence compared to gender bias issues. Because in command and control organization, I have to tell that even female leaders, they try, let's say, to copy, the command and control. So it depends. I think that in my experience, the cultural bias are more powerful than gender bias.
And just to follow on, does it depend on the size of the organisation?
This is a good one. Yes, it depends also on the side. For example, in Italy, we have many family-run companies, and in those companies, people can scream at each other and whatever. They can go to their boss and say, "Whoa, I didn't like that." Yes, so they can express even in a rude way or in a non-professional way. They can express their emotion. Yes. Yeah. You're welcome.
Just as another question. So you say you obviously use an ontological and an approach.
Yes.
Do you find? I mean, I unfortunately wish I could speak more languages, but do your emotion systems and your emotion terminology overlap? So, for example, one thing we don't have in England is the German concept of I can never say it, Schadenfreude.
Wow.
So that's actually an emotion that's quite well recognised in Europeans, but which is the pleasure in somebody else's unfortunate events. But we don't have that terminology. So I just wondered in Italy whether you have similar to English terminologies for emotions.
We have a similar to English, maybe more words to describe emotions, yes, a broader vocabulary. But the thing is, in my experience, my coaches have named just 2 or 3. They don't know how to name emotions. We have, let's say, Italian. My language is really has so many names to describe things and emotion. Yeah, we have many. Yeah, more than in English. but they don't have, no, they don't. Sometimes, just joking, I bring a list of emotions. I say, please buy from the list. just to use irony in the coaching conversation.